My son stole my house. Not metaphorically, not through some family argument about inheritance. He literally, legally, systematically stole the $3.2 million Denver home I'd lived in for 34 years while I was in skilled nursing recovering from a hip replacement surgery. My name is Patricia Ann Morrison. I'm 68 years old now. This happened 4 years ago when I was 64, and I still wake up some mornings not quite believing it's real. It was February 17th, 2020, a Monday. I remember because it was President's Day, and the rehab facility, Centennial Peak Rehabilitation Center in Littleton, Colorado, was short-staffed because of the holiday. I'd been there for 127 days recovering from a catastrophic hip replacement that had gone wrong 3 times. 3 surgeries in 4 months. At 64, my body was exhausted. The physical therapist, a young woman named Monica Chen, had just helped me walk 40 feet with a walker, my longest distance yet. I was crying with relief when my phone rang at 2:47 p.m. The caller ID said, First Republic Mortgage Services. I almost didn't answer. I'd paid off my mortgage in 2006, 14 years earlier. I owed nothing on my home at 1847 South Josephine Street in Denver. The house my late husband Thomas and I had purchased in 1989 for $187,000 was now worth $3.2 million. It was my security, my retirement, my legacy for my 2 children. But something made me answer. Mrs. Morrison? A woman's voice, professional, slightly tense. This is Amanda Reeves, calling from First Republic Mortgage Services. I'm calling about your HECM reverse mortgage account, number 4847-2993-1847. Your February payment of $8,470 is now 14 days past due. I felt that particular coldness that comes right before you understand something terrible has happened. The kind of cold that starts in your chest and spreads. I don't have a reverse mortgage, I said. My voice sounded strange, thin. There was a pause. The clicking of keys. Mrs. Morrison, I'm showing that you opened a home equity conversion mortgage with us on October 3rd, 2019. You received a lump sum payment of $2.41 million on October 11th, 2019. The loan is secured against your property at 1847 South Josephine Street, Denver, Colorado, 80210. October 3rd, 2019. I was in the hospital that day. My first hip surgery had been September 28th. I was still in ICU on October 3rd because of a post-surgical infection. That's impossible, I whispered. I was in the hospital. I never signed anything. Ma'am, I'm looking at your signature right now. It was notarized on October 3rd at 2:15 p.m. by a certified notary, witnessed by 2 individuals. The funds were wire transferred to your account at First National Bank on October 11th. I didn't bank at First National. I'd been with Colorado State Bank for 41 years. My hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped the phone. Can you tell me who was the notary? Who were the witnesses? More clicking. The notary was Jennifer Hastings, license number N47893, Colorado. The witnesses were, let me see, Michael Chen and David Morrison. David Morrison. My son. David was my youngest child, 41 years old at the time. He was a commercial real estate broker with Thornhill Properties in Denver. Divorced, no kids, drove a black Range Rover that cost more than I'd spent on cars in my entire life. He'd been so attentive during my surgery, visiting 3 times a week, bringing me magazines, helping me with paperwork when my hands shook too much from the pain medications. Helping me with paperwork. I told Amanda Reeves, I need to see the documents, every single page. Send them to me right now. She hesitated. Ma'am, I can't just... My son forged my signature. I was unconscious in a hospital bed when these papers were supposedly signed. Send me those documents or I'm calling the police in the next 5 minutes. She transferred me to her supervisor. 30 minutes later, 187 pages arrived in my email. I couldn't read them on my phone. My hands were shaking too hard. Monica, the physical therapist, saw my face and wheeled me to the facility's business center, a small room with 2 desktop computers that residents could use to pay bills or email grandchildren. I opened the first PDF. There was my signature, my full legal signature, Patricia N. Morrison. It looked perfect. It looked exactly like my handwriting, the slight leftward slant I'd had since Catholic school in 1963, the way the capital M looped just a little higher than standard. But I was unconscious in a hospital bed, delirious with infection and morphine when this was supposedly signed. I clicked through page after page. The HECM application, the property appraisal showing my home worth $3.2 million, the loan approval for a maximum payout of $2.41 million, about 75% of the appraised value, standard for reverse mortgages for someone my age. Then I found the wire transfer documentation. On October 11th, 2019, $2.41 million was transferred to account number 93847755287 at First National Bank of Colorado. Account holder, Patricia A. Morrison. An account I never opened. I sat in that small, overheated room with its motivational poster of a kitten hanging from a branch, hang in there, and I understood what my son had done. He had stolen my house. To understand how completely this destroyed me, you need to understand what that house meant. Thomas and I bought 1847 South Josephine in April 1989. We were both 33. Tom was a structural engineer at Martin Marietta. This was before the Lockheed merger. I was a research librarian at Denver Public Library. We had 2 little kids, Sarah, 4, and David, 18 months. The house cost $187,000, which stretched our budget to the breaking point. It was a 1923 Denver Square, 4 bedrooms, original oak floors, a front porch with white columns. The inspection found knob and tube wiring, a cracked foundation, and a furnace from 1967. Our realtor suggested we keep looking. But Thomas stood in the middle of that worn living room with baby David on his hip and said, "This is it. This is our forever home." We painted every room ourselves. Tom rewired the entire house over 3 years, working nights and weekends. We refinished the oak floors on our hands and knees. When Sarah was 7 and David was 5, we all planted the Japanese maple tree in the front yard together. Tom built the tree house in the backyard cottonwood that same summer. Tom died in that house. September 14th, 2012. A Thursday morning. Massive heart attack at the breakfast table. He was 56, I was 52. He died before the ambulance arrived, and the last thing he said to me was, "Make sure David gets help with that math homework." Our son was 23. He hadn't needed math homework help in a decade. Tom was already confused, his brain starving for oxygen. After Tom died, I got the $400,000 life insurance payout. I used $213,000 to pay off the mortgage completely. The rest I put in conservative index funds. Tom had always managed our investments, and I was terrified of making mistakes. The house became my anchor.
My children were grown. Sarah was a veterinarian in Boulder, married with 2 kids. David was building his real estate career. I kept working at the library until I was 62, then retired with a small pension and Social Security. But that house was my wealth. Denver real estate had exploded. By 2019, my $187,000 house was worth $3.2 million. The property tax was crushing, $18,400 a year, but I managed it. I had about $680,000 in savings and investments. I wasn't rich, but I was secure. More than that, I was home. I had friends on that street I'd known for 30 years. I knew every creaky floorboard, every crack in the plaster. Tom's handwriting was still on the growth chart he'd marked on the inside of the pantry door. Sarah and David's heights from ages 2 to 18. That house was my marriage, my children's childhood, my entire adult life. And my son stole it. The relationship with David had always been complicated. He was a difficult kid, brilliant but manipulative, diagnosed with ADHD at 8, oppositional defiant disorder at 12. He cycled through therapists. In high school, he got caught plagiarizing an entire term paper, then convinced the principal the teacher was targeting him. The teacher was reprimanded. David got an A. He was good at manipulating systems. But he was my son, my baby. The toddler who used to fall asleep on my chest. The little boy who cried when we read Where the Wild Things Are because he didn't want Max to leave the monsters. After Tom died, David had been so supportive. He called every Sunday. He came for dinner once a month. When I mentioned my hip was bothering me in early 2019, he researched surgeons and drove me to 3 different consultations. When the surgery went wrong and I ended up needing a second procedure, then a third, he handled everything. He brought me my mail, he paid some bills from my checking account when I was too drugged to write checks. I had given him temporary online access, just during recovery, just to keep things running. He told me he was taking care of everything. He was. He was taking care of stealing my entire life. Sitting in that rehab center business room, scrolling through those documents, I found the property appraisal dated September 18, 2019, 10 days before my first surgery. Someone had appraised my home at $3.2 million. I clicked on the appraiser's signature. Thornhill Properties, David's company. He'd been planning this for months. I called Sarah first. My daughter is methodical, calm, a problem solver. She's a veterinarian surgeon. She once removed a tennis ball from a golden retriever's intestines while the dog was coding on the table. She doesn't panic. But when I told her what I found, I heard something in her voice I'd never heard before. Pure rage. I'm coming right now. Don't call David. Don't call anyone else. I'm leaving Boulder in 10 minutes. She arrived an hour and 40 minutes later, a drive that should take 2 hours. We sat in the rehab center's family conference room, a depressing space with gray carpet and a box of tissues on every surface, and went through all 187 pages together. Sarah's hands didn't shake like mine. She made notes on a legal pad in her precise handwriting. October 3rd, she said, you were in ICU. I was there that day. You had a 102.7-degree fever. You didn't even recognize me until around 6 p.m. The notary signature says 2:15 p.m. Sarah photographed every page with her phone. Then she called her husband, Marcus, who's a corporate attorney. Not the right kind of attorney for this, but a starting point. Marcus gave us a name, Detective William Chen, Financial Crimes Unit, Denver Police. He also said, Patricia needs to call her bank immediately. If that reverse mortgage money went into a fake account in her name, there might be other accounts. There were. I called Colorado State Bank, my real bank, and asked to speak to the branch manager. Her name was Vivian O'Coffer, and I'd known her for 6 years. She'd helped me set up the account after Tom died. Vivian, I need to know something, I said. Have there been any new accounts opened in my name in the last year? Any accounts I didn't personally open in your branch? Silence. Clicking keys. Then, Mrs. Morrison, I'm showing your primary checking account ending in 4738, your savings account ending in 9210, and your money market account ending in 3847, all opened in 2012. Is there a problem? What about at other branches or at other banks? I only have access to our system, but hold on. More clicking. I can run your social security number through check systems. That'll show all bank accounts opened nationally in your name. She put me on hold. Muzak played, The Girl from Ipanema, which I will hate for the rest of my life. Vivian came back 5 minutes later. Mrs. Morrison, there are 4 accounts I don't recognize, all opened at First National Bank of Colorado. One checking account opened October 7th, 2019. One savings account opened the same day. 2 brokerage accounts opened October 15th and October 22nd, 2019. 4 accounts I'd never opened. Can you see the balances? I asked. No, but I can see the opening deposit amounts reported to check systems. The checking account was opened with $250, the savings account with $100, the brokerage accounts don't show opening amounts. The $2.41 million went into one of those accounts. Mrs. Morrison, you need to file a police report today. This is identity theft and fraud. I'm sending you the check systems report right now, and I'm putting a fraud alert on all your accounts with us.
Sarah drove me to the Denver Police Department's Financial Crimes Unit that same day, February 17th, 2020. I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk more than 50 feet yet, and I rolled into Detective William Chen's office at 4:15 p.m. with a 3-inch stack of printed documents. Detective Chen was about 50, Chinese-American with graying hair and reading glasses on a chain around his neck. His office smelled like coffee and had a Denver Broncos calendar on the wall still showing January. I told him everything. He took notes on an actual notepad, not a computer. When I got to the part about David being listed as a witness on the notarization, his pen stopped moving. Your son, he repeated, David Morrison, age 41, commercial real estate broker. Yes. And you believe he forged your signature on a $2.41 million reverse mortgage application while you were hospitalized? I don't believe it. I know it. He looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Mrs. Morrison, I have to tell you, family financial cases are extremely difficult to prosecute. If you'd given your son power of attorney, or if there's any documentation that you authorized, I never gave him power of attorney. I gave him online access to pay my electric bill. That's it. Can you prove you were hospitalized on October 3rd? Yes, I was at Swedish Medical Center from September 28th through October 14th, 2019. I have all the records. Sarah pulled out her phone. I also have photos. I took pictures of my mom in ICU on October 3rd because we thought she might die. The metadata will show the date and time. Detective Chen sat forward. Show me. Sarah scrolled through her phone and found them. There I was, at 11:47 a.m. on October 3rd, 2019. Unconscious, intubated, IV lines in both arms, my face gray and swollen. Another photo at 3:22 p.m., still unconscious. The notary document showed my signature at 2:15 p.m. that same day. Detective Chen looked at those photos for a long time. Then he said, I'm opening an investigation. This is going to take months, Miss Morrison. Fraud cases like this are complex. But I'm going to tell you right now, if your son did this, he's going to prison for a very long time. The investigation took 11 months. Detective Chen worked with the FBI, federal charges because of the wire fraud and bank fraud components. The lead FBI agent was Special Agent Rebecca Torino, white woman, late 30s, based out of the Denver field office. Here's what they found. The fake bank accounts. David had opened all 4 accounts at First National Bank of Colorado using my social security number, my date of birth, and a forged driver's license. The bank's identity verification process required a photo ID and a utility bill showing proof of address. He'd created a fake driver's license using my real DMV photo, which he'd accessed using my information while I was hospitalized. He'd also created a fake Xcel Energy bill using my address. The bank teller who'd opened the accounts was interviewed. She remembered David. She described him perfectly. 6'1", dark hair, beard, very professional, very friendly. She'd believed he was setting up accounts to help his elderly, hospitalized mother manage her finances. The forged signatures. The FBI brought in a forensic document examiner named Dr. Martin Kowalski from the Questioned Document Laboratory in Washington, D.C. He analyzed the signatures on the reverse mortgage documents, the bank account applications, and the fake power of attorney forms David had also created. Dr. Kowalski's report concluded the questioned signatures exhibit characteristics consistent with simulation, the careful, drawn quality of forged writing. While superficially similar to the known exemplars of Patricia Morrison's signature, microtremors and pen lifts indicate the signer was copying rather than writing naturally. Probability of forgery, 98.7%. David had traced my signature, probably hundreds of times, practicing until he could reproduce it perfectly. The notary. Jennifer Hastings, the notary whose stamp appeared on the documents, was a real person, a notary public who worked at a UPS store in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. When FBI agents interviewed her, she broke down crying. She said a man matching David's description had come in on October 3rd with a woman who looked sick, maybe in her 60s, didn't say much. The woman signed documents while the man directed them. Jennifer Hastings picked David out of a photo lineup immediately. But here's the thing. The woman wasn't me. I was unconscious in a hospital bed 12 miles away. David had hired someone to impersonate me, an actress probably, or just someone he paid $500 to sit there and sign papers. The FBI never identified the woman. She disappeared. The money. This is where it got even worse. That $2.41 million had been wire transferred to the fake First National checking account on October 11, 2019. Within 72 hours, David had transferred it to the two brokerage accounts he'd also opened in my name, both at Thornhill Capital, the investment arm of his real estate company. From there, over the next 4 months while I was in and out of surgery and rehab, he systematically moved the money. $847,000 transferred to his personal checking account in increments under $100,000 to avoid automatic bank reporting. $920,000 invested in a commercial property development in Fort Collins under an LLC he controlled. $385,000 used to pay off his personal debts, including his Range Rover loan, 2 maxed-out credit cards, and back child support he owed his ex-wife. $258,000 transferred to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. The FBI traced every single transaction. By the time I discovered the fraud in February 2020, there was $198,000 left in the brokerage accounts. Everything else was gone, spent, hidden, or in assets that had depreciated. Special Agent Rebecca Torino called me on January 8, 2021, at 9:33 a.m. I was back home by then, discharged from rehab in June 2020 and 7 months into outpatient physical therapy. I could walk with a cane. The house was still mine, technically, but the reverse mortgage was accruing interest at $8,470 per month. First Republic had started foreclosure proceedings. I was going to lose my home. The legal process to prove fraud and reverse the mortgage was ongoing, but it was slow. I was spending $8,000 a month on attorneys. I answered Rebecca's call in my kitchen, the same kitchen where Tom had died 9 years earlier. "Patricia," she said, "we have enough. We're arresting David today." I had to sit down. "Today," she said. "In about 3 hours. I wanted you to hear it from me first. The U.S. Attorney's Office has filed a 47-count federal indictment. Wire fraud, bank fraud, identity theft, mortgage fraud, money laundering. He's looking at 15 to 25 years in federal prison." I couldn't speak. Rebecca continued, "We executed a search warrant on his home and office this morning. We've seized his computers, his phones, his financial records. We found 23 different practice sheets where he'd been tracing your signature, Patricia. We found emails to the property appraiser coordinating the fake appraisal. We found text messages to the woman who impersonated you at the notary. Her name is Jennifer Yates, and we've arrested her too." "How much can I get back?" I asked, Of the money. Silence. We've frozen his accounts. We've seized the Fort Collins property. We're working with the Cayman Islands authorities on the offshore account. Realistically, you'll probably recover $1.1 to $1.3 million. The rest is gone, spent, hidden, or in assets that have depreciated.
The arrest happened at 1:15 p.m. at David's office on 17th Street in downtown Denver. Sarah heard first. Her friend's husband worked in the same building. David was walked out in handcuffs in front of his colleagues. He called me from jail that night. The Denver County Jail allows one phone call. He used it on me. I almost didn't answer, but I did. "Mom," his voice was shaking. "Mom, please, this is a misunderstanding. I was trying to help you. I was managing your assets while you were sick. I was going to pay it all back." "You stole $2.41 million from me," I said. My voice didn't sound like my voice. "I was investing it. The Fort Collins development is going to triple. I was going to give you everything plus returns. Mom, you have to believe me. I would never hurt you." "You forged my signature. You hired someone to impersonate me. You practiced tracing my handwriting until you could fake it perfectly. That wasn't a misunderstanding, David. That was a plan." "Mom, I stole my house. The house your father built. The house where you grew up, while I was unconscious in a hospital bed fighting an infection that almost killed me." He was crying now, actual sobs. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't let them do this to me. Please, Mom, I'm your son." "I don't have a son anymore," I said, and I hung up. I didn't sleep that night, or the next, because here's what nobody tells you about being betrayed by your child. It doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your past. Every memory of David was contaminated. The toddler who fell asleep on my chest had become the monster. But the legal system was moving. David's attorney, a federal public defender named Martin Kessler, tried to negotiate. The U.S. attorney offered 12 years if David pled guilty and provided full restitution. David refused. He insisted on going to trial. He would claim I had authorized everything, that I'd been confused from medication, that this was a family misunderstanding. He was going to call me a liar in federal court. The trial was scheduled for September 2021. It lasted 9 days. I testified on day 3. Assistant U.S. Attorney Jennifer Huang walked me through every detail. "Mrs. Morrison, where were you on October 3, 2019 at 2:15 p.m., the time these documents show you supposedly signed the reverse mortgage application?" "I was unconscious in the ICU at Swedish Medical Center. I had a 102.7-degree fever and sepsis." "Could you have signed these documents?" "No." She showed the jury Sarah's photos. Me, intubated, unconscious. Timestamp 3:22 p.m., October 3rd. The notary documents claimed I signed at 2:15 p.m. that same day. The jury looked at David. Several jurors' expressions changed. David's attorney cross-examined me, suggesting I'd been on morphine and might have forgotten conversations. I repeated, I never authorized a reverse mortgage. I never would. I'd paid off my house. It was the one thing I owned free and clear. Then David took the stand. He was calm, rehearsed. He told the jury I had asked him to help me access home equity for long-term care, that I'd been confused, that he'd made some investment decisions that in hindsight weren't ideal, but his intent had always been to help. Then Jennifer Huang cross-examined him. "Mr. Morrison, you transferred $847,000 to your personal checking account. How was that for your mother's benefit?" "I was consolidating." "You used $178,000 to pay off your Range Rover, Was that for your mother? David's jaw tightened. You transferred $258,000 to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. Why would your elderly hospitalized mother need an account in the Cayman Islands? Silence. You hired Jennifer Yates to impersonate your mother at a notary, didn't you? No. Ms. Yates has pled guilty and identified you as the man who paid her $800. Are you calling her a liar? I've never met that woman. Huang produced the Venmo receipt, $800 from David's account to Jennifer Yates, October 1st, 2019, memo, notary help. David stepped down looking smaller. The jury deliberated 4 hours. Guilty on all 47 counts.
Sentencing was December 14, 2021. I wore the same navy dress I'd worn to Tom's funeral. Judge Richard T. Patterson read the pre-sentence report. Guidelines suggested 168 to 210 months, 14 to 17 and a half years. Then he asked David if he wanted to speak. David stood. Your Honor, I know I made mistakes. I take full responsibility. Judge Patterson cut him off. Mr. Morrison, you were convicted by a jury. You didn't plead guilty. You've taken no responsibility. Don't insult this court's intelligence. He continued, I've been a federal judge 19 years. I've seen financial fraud involving strangers, business partners, distant relatives. This is the first time I've seen a son systematically exploit his own mother during a medical crisis that nearly killed her. He looked straight at David. You forged her signature. You hired someone to impersonate her. You practiced tracing her handwriting until you could replicate it perfectly. You moved millions while she was fighting for her life, and when you were caught, you blamed her. You claimed she was confused from medication. You made her come to court and prove she wasn't a liar. The courtroom was silent. Guidelines suggest 14 to 17 and a half years. I'm going above. Mr. Morrison, you are sentenced to 228 months, 19 years in federal prison. You will pay full restitution of $2,408,000 to your mother, with 4% annual interest until paid. 3 years supervised release after prison. David's face went white. The marshal came forward. David looked back at me, no expression. He was a stranger who looked like my son. They took him away. The restitution order meant nothing. David had no money. The FBI had seized about $1.37 million in assets, which were liquidated and returned to me. Net loss after legal fees, roughly $1.28 million. But reversing the reverse mortgage took 8 more months. First Republic continued foreclosure proceedings even after the conviction. Their position, they'd loaned $2.41 million in good faith. They wanted it back. My real estate litigator, Thomas Brennan, argued the transaction was fraudulent from inception and void. First Republic claimed innocent third-party status. In August 2022, Federal Judge Patricia Martinez ruled in my favor. The loan agreement is void ab initio. First Republic's failure to adequately verify the borrower's identity is not the victim's responsibility. The lien is dissolved. First Republic appealed. The 10th Circuit upheld the ruling in March 2023. My house was mine again. Legally, officially, finally. Cost, $247,000 in legal fees, 3 years of my life, my relationship with my son, countless therapy hours. Worth it? Yes, because I kept my home.
David is currently incarcerated at FCI Inglewood, a low-security federal prison 15 miles south of Denver. BOP number 47839-013.
He'll be 60 when he's released in 2040. I'll be 84 if I'm still alive. He's written me 17 letters over 3 years. I've opened exactly one. It said, "Mom, I dream about the treehouse Dad built every night. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me." I didn't respond. Sarah says I should, that he's mentally ill, that I'll regret it if he dies in prison and we never reconciled. Maybe she's right, but I'm not ready. Maybe I never will be. Here's what I know. I'm 68. I live alone at 1847 South Josephine Street in Denver. The Japanese maple we planted in 1994 is 30 years old and shades the entire front yard. Tom's growth chart is still on the pantry door. Sarah's final mark, 5'4". David's 5'11". I've thought about painting over it, starting fresh, but I haven't. Last week, my granddaughter Emily, Sarah's oldest, 12, came over after school. She saw the chart and asked what it was. "It's how Grandpa kept track of how much your mom and uncle grew," I said. "Can we do mine?" she asked. So I got a pencil, and Emily stood against the doorframe, and I made a mark at 4'10". I wrote her name and the date. Emily, age 12, October 2024. A new mark on the old chart. That house, my house, the house I fought for, isn't just the past anymore. It's the future, too. David tried to steal that from me. He tried to erase 34 years of memories, to turn my security into his profit, to make me powerless and afraid. But I fought back. Not because I'm brave or special, because I was angry, because it was wrong, because that house was mine, legally, morally, completely, and no one, not even my son, had the right to take it. If you're listening, and someone has exploited you, financially, emotionally, legally, I want you to know you can fight back. It's hard. It's expensive. It takes years. You'll lose sleep and money and maybe relationships. But your dignity is worth it. Your home is worth it. Your truth is worth it. I'm Patricia Ann Morrison. I'm 68 years old. I live in my house, the house my husband built, the house my son tried to steal. And I'm still here.